Well, hi everyone, welcome to today's blog on Bank Holiday Monday at the end of a day, and we're continuing this journey through prayer, and it's part of an ongoing story really. We looked at the other day at the fact of how Jesus prays, and then on Saturday we looked at how faithful he was in prayer, even when things didn't seem to be going particularly according to plan or whatever. He didn't give up on his prayer life. Indeed, he prayed deeper and longer and harder, and he sought those times of prayer. And then today we come to a rather strange title that Philip Yancey uses. He talks about, is prayer limited? In other words, does it have a finite edge to prayer? In other words, can God do anything and everything, or can he only do certain things? And I think I get a little bit of what Philip Yancey's talking about, because the closest analogy I can think of is like when we're growing up with, say, parents, or if we're actually raising our own children or grandchildren. One option is to want a God who really comes in and sorts everything out. So we pray, and then God deals with it, a bit like a child going to a parent or a grandparent, or a parent or grandparent deciding they know best and going to sort everything out for their grandchild. The downside of that is that, in a way, although it solves the immediate problem that is before you, the downside is that, well, it can be quite a controlling relationship, a relationship where certainly it's about us and God, and really presenting our demands or having to cope with his answers. There doesn't feel that much love about it, whether in a relationship of a child or an adult. The alternative is something a bit like this wonderful apple tree. I never cease to be amazed by the way creation sort of acts as a bit like a fifth gospel to us. Apple trees and pear trees, I'm a bit out of my depth here with regard to gardening, but apple trees and pear trees can be grown against a wall, and they can be tied back to grow along pieces of wire or up trellises or whatever, and they may even look pretty or well ordered, and I imagine professional growers might actually like this because of the fact that it creates the greatest yield. But there's something wonderful about the creativity of a tree allowed to grow completely on its own, to produce its own branches and fruit the way it wants to, rather than it being forced to grow in a particular style. And I look around all the other apple trees in this wonderful orchard, and they're all different. There's one leaning over there, and if I go the other way, you can see there's each and every different sort of tree and shape and bush and colour. And I think that's something of what actually Jesus is trying to point at with regard to prayer and how prayer works. In a very strange story, Jesus talks at the Last Supper to Peter, Simon Peter, and he says, "Satan wants to test you, Simon, but I'm praying for you that when you have fallen away, you will come back and be able to guide your brothers and friends in the way that I have commanded you." Strange thing to say. And of course, those of you who know the story, we know that in a way, Jesus' prayer at one level doesn't seem to work. Peter does deny his best friend 3 times when Jesus is arrested, and Peter follows him. He says 3 times, "I don't even know this person, Jesus," in order to save his own skin. So was Jesus' prayer unfulfilled or not answered? Well then, of course, after the cross and after the resurrection, 2 huge events which we call Easter, we perhaps remember the story that then Jesus met up with Simon Peter on the seashore up in Galilee, and there for the 3 times Simon Peter had said, "I don't know him," Jesus says, "Do you love me?" Doesn't say, "You toe rag, you let me down," or whatever 3 times, or 3 times even, "I forgive you." He goes even beyond that. He says, "Do you love me?" And those 3 times Peter recognizes that Jesus has never stopped praying for him. Jesus has never stopped believing in him, even when he went through all the highs and the lows of the events of Easter. That's probably the closest I think we can get to understanding how God is somehow limited in prayer. Not so much limited as he chooses, as Philip Yancey says, to woo us. It's an old-fashioned word. It sort of means to try and appeal to us to gain our partnership, our companionship, our friendship. And that is a most beautiful thing, allowing each of us to grow like these apple trees and to blossom fully ourselves, taking the risk that it won't work out the way we would want it to work out, to make God look somehow weak and almost invisible. He takes all this to himself in a desire to show us love. And of course that is part of the great mystery of prayer, but also its enjoyment and its excitement. Have a great rest of the day. Bye for now.